Hey guys, Nitro here. In today's video we are going to learn how to create a simple quest system in Unreal Engine 4 using blueprints. Before proceeding with the creation of this system, I'd like to show you my final result. So what's happening here is that every 0.1 seconds or so a line chase will be fired from the center of my screen, 800 units in front of it. Then the blueprint will check whether we hit something, and based on some of information extracted from the out hit, a widget will appear at the bottom. Then you will be able to press the E button to interact with the NPC, which will give you the choices, if you want or not to accept a quest. If you're going to accept the quest, then you will have to complete it. After you did what you had to do, you will have to go back to the NPC and then you will be rewarded gold and experience. But now, for beginners, what exactly is a quest? Well, a quest is simply a request. Quests are usually found in RPG games, but they can be found in other games as well. There are two types of quests: main quests, which contribute to the main storyline, and optional or side quests, which usually don't contribute to the main storyline, but can give you some information about it. Usually after completing a quest, you will be rewarded with different things. These things could be gold, experience, resources, and so on. Hard quests will result in a bigger reward. Okay, and now that we know what a quest is exactly, we can continue to learn how to do this system in blueprints. Okay, so now the first thing that we are going to create is the NPC. So we are going to go to blueprint class, and then we are going to go to character. In here we are going to name this guy NPC, and for now the only thing that we are going to do is to add a mesh. So sk mannequin, and the name class should be to third person and MVP. But of course, if you're going to have a custom mannequin, that's alright as well, or actually a custom skeletal mesh. Now for the location, for me this should be -80. Okay, let's compile, and now we are going to have to create some variables that will help us make the difference between quests, set how much gold and XP we want to give to our player, and some other information that we are going to use later in the tutorial. So the first one is going to be called text, and this is going to be a text just as the name says. Basically it's going to be the description of a quest, and the second one is going to be quest name. And now this one can be either a string or a name, but I'm going to use string for this tutorial. Then also we are going to have here quest completed. Okay, and this one is going to be a boolean, and this will check if this quest was completed already or not, so we can't take the same quest twice. And then we are going to have here took quest, because we are going to have two states in which a player can be situated in, right? So the one when he haven't took the quest already and he can either accept it or refuse it, and the one that he is completing the quest right now, he's trying to make the quest and then he can come back and take his reward, right? And this one is going to be a boolean as well. The next one is going to be quest index. This is going to help us later, so I'm not going to explain it now. And then we're going to have here an experience, and then gold. These are self-explanatory. These are going to control how much experience and gold we want to give to the player. And now we'll have to make some changes to these variables. And for the text, quest name, experience, and gold, we will have to click here and make sure that we have these public and visible, so we can access them individually here. After we are going to place the NPC, we want to be able to access them, but first let's compile. Alright, and now you can see here default, text, quest name, experience, and gold. We will want to change these on every NPC. Okay, but now let's delete our NPC from this world, and let's go to our NPC, right click and create child blueprint class. Let me name this first, and then I'm going to tell you why we did this. So I'm going to name this NPC underline child underline bring item, because in this tutorial we are going to learn how to do a quest where the player has to go and bring back an item to the NPC. And now the reason that we created a child blueprint is because if we ever want to have multiple quests, multiple type of quests, we just need to create a new child blueprint class. And if we ever change something to the original NPC, let's say we add a new variable, that variable is going to be added to all its childs, right? So every change that we are going to do here is going to be changed in the other ones as well. And now what we're going to do is to add some heads up displays. So we are going to go into our content browser, right click, user interface, and then add to new widget blueprints. So the first one is going to be main heads up display. And the second one is going to be quest heads up display. And we're going to go into our main heads up display and go to user created. And here we're going to drag our quest heads up display. And the reason why we're going to do this instead of having just one heads up display is because maybe later we will want to add here at the bottom the, let's say, health bar, and here at the top the golden experience and some other statistics and other stuff. So for that it is going to be a little bit easier to only add one widget to the viewport instead of adding like 5 different widgets. So now I'm going to set the position to be 0 and 0, and the size is going to be 1920 by 1080. So it's just going to fit the screen entirely. And then we don't have to do anything in here anymore. Let's close it and go into our quest HUD. And in here we will need to create some things. First we are going to add an image. I'm going to anchor it at the bottom. Okay, I'm going to set the color to be black with opacity 0.5. And we are also going to add the text. The text is going to be press button E to interact. I'm going to make the anchor at the bottom, and the justification is going to be align text center. So it's always going to be in the center of this widget. Okay, so now I'm going to make this a little bit bigger. And now I will also scale this image. So basically the reason why I'm going to add this is because I will want to have a visual representation of when I can interact with other objects and when I can't do that. And now let's set the render opacity to 0, because we are going to create a nice animation, fade in, fade out, to make sure that it's not just going to pop out on our screen. So new animation, interact, fade in or out. And we will need to select both of these, go into our animation, go to plus check and add the text and image. And we are going to edit the render opacity for both from 0 and 0. Second 0 we will go to 0.75 and we are going to set at both 1. Okay, and now let's play it and see how it looks. Okay, so it seems that it's not working, and that is because at the start we forgot to add here 0 and 0. And now this should look nice. Let's see. So as you can see, a slow fade. And this is pretty much everything we have to do for the press E to interact. Now we are going to add something like a part of the quest where you can accept and refuse a quest. So for that we are going to add a new image. Going to place this in the middle, going to make it nice and big. Color is going to be black, opacity 0.5. If you don't know how to change the opacity, just go into here and you're going to have to change the alpha, right? And now that this is placed in the middle, we are also going to add a text. And it's going to be a little bit interesting because we are going to change this text based on a binding. But first let's set the justification of this text to be in the middle, so align text center. And so let's create a bind. And what binds do is that they can change the value of this text. So it's just going to change the entire text based on a variable. And that variable we are going to change somewhere in our blueprint later. So let's just create one right now and make sure that you give it a good name so you know which you have to edit. Alright, and now we are going to add a horizontal box. And I don't know how to explain what this does, but you're going to see in a moment. We are going to add in here 2 new buttons, right? So make sure that these are attached to them, to it. And now let's set these options. So as you can see now, I'm going to have 2 buttons. The distance is going to be equal here, and I will be able to press them. And now I'm going to also add text to both of the buttons. So the first one is going to be accept. So accept. And the second one is going to be refuse. Okay, but we won't add for now the functionality for these buttons. but we are not going to create our quest HUD yet. First we'll go into graph, event graph, and in here we're going to use event construct. And event construct is basically event begin play but for widgets. So when a HUD is going to be created, this event will fire. So event construct, from here we are going to cast to third person character, which is my character. The object is going to be get player character. So we are going to check if our player's character is the third person character. If that is true, we are going to promote the third person character to a variable. I'm going to call this character. And basically this is going to be a reference to our player. And then we'll be able to access variables and other information from this character without having to cast every time. So we can just go and get our character and get, let's say, I don't know, get a base lookup rate. And that's it. And now one more thing that I want to do is to add a custom event. And I'm going to call this interact fade in or fade out event. And what I'm going to do is to add a new input, a boolean, and this is going to be called reverse. And this is going to be a question. So do we want it to be reversed or not? If we want it to be reversed, we are going to do something. If we don't want that to be reversed, we are going to do something else. So we are going to have here a branch. Do we want this to be reversed? Then we are going to get our animation, interact fade in or fade out, and we are going to play this animation, but we are going to play it in reverse mode. And do we want this not to be reversed? So that means that this is going to be false. And then we are going to play this animation in forward mode. And now we need to create a new animation once again, which is going to be quest fade in or fade out. And this one is going to fade in this image, the text at the top, and the horizontal box. So let's add this once again. By default, the render opacity is 0, so should be 0. And as well, we are going to animate the render opacity, as I said. Make sure that you're going to add a new keyframe at the beginning. And then in 0.75 seconds, we are going to make this one to every one of them. Okay, and now what we'll have to do is to create a new variable, a boolean. I'm going to call this is interactive hidden. Or we can just have here is interact hidden. And this is going to check if our press to interact is visible or not. And by default it should be false, and when we are going to play this in forward mode, we are going to set it to be true, and when we are going to play this in reverse mode, we are going to set this to be false. Okay, let's compile, and now I believe this is everything that we have to do in our quest HUD. Now it's finally time to work in our third person character, so let's get into here and let's make some things. So first we are going to get event begin play. This event will fire once we are going to start our game, and what we'll first have to do is to create a widget, and the widget is going to be the main HUD, and let's promote this to a variable so we can access its variables and stuff later. So main underline HUD, and then we are also going to add this to viewport, so it's going to be shown on our display. And then I'm going to get from main HUD get quest HUD, and I'm also going to promote this to a variable so I can only access the quest HUD if I want. Alright. And now we'll have to do something at the end, which is going to be setting a timer. So set timer by function name. We're going to check looping 0.5, and now let me explain what it's going to do. In our case, when we checked looping and we set a time, this node is going to repeat a function every 0.05 seconds, because we will want to check things this frequent. So what we'll do is to make here a custom event, and I'm going to call this check NPC. And even though this says set timer by function name, we can use custom events as well. So let's copy the name, and we are going to plug this in the function name. And now what we could do is to have here a print to string So print string, and let's say this here, this works. Okay, let's compile and let's see. Okay, and now at the top left you can see that there it says this works. And that's exactly what we wanted to happen. Okay, now it's time to set up this custom event. What we're going to have is a line trace by channel. So line trace by channel is basically a line that is going to fire from one point and is going to end somewhere else. So let's set up this. We are going to get our follow camera and we are going to get world location, because we want our line trace to start from our camera, and that is going to be somewhere here where the camera is located. And then we will have to get the forward vector, and if you don't know what the forward vector is basically an arrow in front of our camera which is going to always point in front of it. So if I'm going to rotate my camera, you're going to see that this arrow is always going to be in front of it. So as you can see, it's never going to be in some other rotation. But we don't need this arrow because we can just simply get the forward vector. And then what we'll have to do is to multiply this with float. So this is going to represent the length of our line trace, let's say 800 units. And then we are going to add these two, so vector and another vector, plug it in the end. And now what I'll do is to set the draw debug type to for duration, so I'm going to be able to see this line trace when we are going to play, and the draw time is going to be 0.4 actually. So for 0.4 seconds, once this is going to be called, I'm going to be able to see it. Okay, now we're going to have here a branch, and the condition is going to be the return value, which is basically going to check if we hit anything or not. And that you can see that if you're going to go in here, if you're going to point at the floor, you're going to see some red dots. That means that we hit something. If I'm going to point in the air, at the end there, you can see that there's nothing, which means that we didn't hit anything. Okay, and if we hit something, we are going to break our hit result, and we are going to check if the hit actor is equal to an NPC. So we are going to do that easier by casting to an NPC. So if our hit actor is an NPC, we are going to be able to access its variables and information. And now let me tell you something about children in Unreal Engine 4. If I'm going to hit NPC child bring item, this is still going to be considered as an NPC, so this cast is still going to be successful. After this, we will want to get here get quest completed, and we want to check if this is not completed. So we are going to negate it. So if the quest is not completed, we are going to get our quest HUD, and we are going to get the boolean we created. So get interact hidden. Okay, and if this is true, so if this is hidden, we will want to do here do once. And let's do also add a custom event which will be called cast successful do once reset. So if the cast was successful, we are going to reset this at some point, but not yet. And after this, we are going to go from us NPC. We are going to have here an add reroute node, just so we can access this a little bit easier here. So it's going to be cleaner. We are going to promote this to a variable, and it should be NPC to interact. So this is the reason that we are going to do this is the same for the quest HUD and the main HUD, just so we can access these later without having to worry about getting from here or something else. Alright, and I will need to create a new variable which is going to be a boolean, and we are going to call this can interact. So this will check if we can interact with something or not, and we could use the NPC to interact as well, but sometimes we don't want to interact only with NPCs but with other items as well. So we are going to set this to be true, and by default it should be false. Let me explain the purpose of this do once. So this event will be called every 0.05 seconds, but we don't want this to run if we are going to hit every time the NPC, we don't want this piece of blueprint to run every time, because there would be a waste of performance. And also after the do once, we want to do something else from the quest HUD. We will want to call the custom event that we created, so call interact fade in out event, and this should not be reversed, right? So we're just going to call this, so this is going to be visible. And now let's see what we have to do if our cast failed, so we hit something else which is not the NPC. Okay, so now from the cast failed, we are going to get a branch, and the condition is going to check if our is hidden, is interact hidden is true or not. So from quest HUD is interact hidden, but we are actually going to negate this, so the question will be like this: is interact not hidden? So that means is interact visible? If that is true, we are going to have another do once for the exact same purpose of this one, and we're going to have another custom event cast failed reset. And from completed, what we're going to do is to get our quest HUD, and we are once again going to call fade in out event with reversed checked, because we want to get rid of the press E to interact. Then we are going to have an empty set for the NPC to interact. That means that the NPC to interact variable will be null, and then the can interact boolean will be false. And now what we'll have to do is to see how we can reset these do once, actually both of them. So what we'll have to do is to get here a sequence, and the sequence at the top as well. And from then one, what we'll have to do is to get call cast failed reset, and from the other one, call cast successful do once reset. So basically, when I'm going to hit the NPC, I want to reset this, and when I'm going to hit something else, let's say the floor, we want to reset the these do once. Okay, so now this should be pretty much everything for this. One thing that we can do from false, we can have here a reroute node and also plug this in the branch, and I think this should be just fine. So now that we are almost done with checking things, we can try to see if we can interact with the NPC or not. But first we need to go to edit, project settings, then go to input, action mappings, and get here interact. And I'm going to bind this to my E button. So now every time I'm going to press the button E, some events are going to be called for the interact action event. So when I'm going to press this, what I want to do is to check if I can interact or not, because there's no reason to do anything else if I cannot interact. And then I'm going to check if our NPC to interact is valid, because if this is not valid, we are going to do something else. But as long as this is valid, we are going to check some other things, right? So we are going to have two different pieces of blueprint. Okay, and now we are going to copy this once again, and I'm going to check if I haven't took the quest. So I'm going to get took quest, and I'm going to negate it. So the question is going to be I haven't took the quest, right? And if that is true, we are going to get our quest HUD, and we are going to set a quest text, as I said, and the quest text is going to be our NPC's text. So get text, and I'm going to plug this in here. Then we will need to play an animation from our quest HUD. We are going to play animation, and the animation is going to be the one that we set up for the quest fade out fade in. So get quest fade in fade out. Okay, play mode should be forward. Then from quest HUD we are also going to call interact fade in fade out, and this is going to be reversed. And we will need to create a new variable right now, a boolean, and it's going to be called can move. And that is because when we are going to have our quest menu out, we don't want to be able to move. So we'll need to go to move to mouse input and have here a branch. Okay, for both. and we will check if we can move. And if that is true, we are going to add controller and yaw input, controller yaw and pitch input. And then we will go to movement input, and in here the same, 2 branches with the true value can move. And now let's make sure that we are going to set the default value for can move to be true. Now at the end here we are going to set can move to be false. And then we'll also get player controller, because we will want to set show mouse cursor to be true. So we are going to get our mouse cursor on the screen so you can press the buttons that we set up. So now it's time to play the game and see if this is working until now. And the first thing that we can see is that at the bottom the pressing to interact is going to be visible at first, and then let's see if we can hit our character, our NPC, and it seems that we can't. So let's see how we can fix this real quick. First we need to go to NPC, add here a cylinder and make it just a little bit bigger than our character. Okay, not character but NPC. Then we'll need to go to collision presets and set a custom collision. We are going to ignore everything but the visibility trace response. We need to block this because our line trace by channel should be blocked here for trace channel visibility. Alright, and then let's see what I got wrong in here. So first I think we need to go into our quest HUD, and I think we got wrong this. So is interact hidden, this should be true here and the other one should be false, and by default this should be true. So let's see now. And as you can see, we got rid of the press to interact at first. Now we can hit our NPC and then we can have the press A to interact at the bottom. And now as well you can see that we are going to get our quest heads up display, right? So the main quest heads up display with the buttons. We can't move, and we are also going to get our mouse, but we don't have the text that we set up, and that is because I haven't set up the text for this guy. But I'm going to set something here real quick. I'm going to type text on multiple rows to see how it looks. And also let's go real quick into our NPC and hide the cylinder, so visibility, and uncheck this. Alright, and now it is doing fine. Press E and now you can see text, 3 rows, exactly what I typed in. And now it's time to continue with our blueprint. But now the thing is that we are going to be stuck in our screen, because if we are going to press accept or refuse, nothing is going to happen. So let's set up the functionality for these 2 buttons. Let's go into our quest HUD once again, button 0 on pressed, and then button 7 on pressed. Okay, and so for the button 0, for the accept one, we will need to go and get our character. Okay, then we will need to get NPC to interact. So get NPC to interact. Then we will need to get quest name. And now we'll need to create a new variable in our character. That means a 3rd person character. This one is going to be called quests name. Alright, and this one is going to be a string array. And then we will need to add a new variable, which is going to be an array of booleans, quests completed. So basically the first one is going to store all the names of our quests, and then the second one is going to store if those specific quests are going to be completed yet or not. So let's give this guy a quest name as well. So let's say bring cube, or actually bring item, because we are going to bring something later when we finish the blueprint. Okay, so now let's compile, and from our character get quests name, and we are going to add unique. So basically what add unique does is that it's going to add an element to this array only if that specific element is going to be unique. So if it doesn't has a value that another element already has. So we cannot have the same quest name twice. That means that we will need to have different quest names for every NPC. Then we will need to get quests completed, and here we are going to just add. Okay, so the reason why we are not going to have again add unique is because booleans can only have 2 values, that means true and false. And that means that we can't have an infinite amount of values, which we can for the strings. That means that we only need to add. And every time we are going to add something for this one, so for the quest names, something is going to be added to the quest completed. So every time the index is going to match. Okay, I didn't mean to do that. Okay, and now what we'll have to do is to get our NPC to interact once again. And you might remember that we created an integer variable called quest index. We are going to need to set quest index to be the index from our array. So basically we are going to use this as an identifier a little bit later in our third person character, so we can set a quest completed for this guy. Okay, and now what we'll have to do is to get our animation for quest fade in out, and we need to play this. So play animation, and this is going to be reversed. We will need to get our character once again and set can move to be true once again, because we want to be able to move once again. Then get player controller, set show mouse cursor, and then let's don't forget at the end to set NPC to interact to be nothing, so it's just an empty set. And now let's check if this is working or not. Now we will need to play and go press E on this NPC and press accept, and let's see if this is working or not. So indeed it is working, we got the quest, but now there is going to be a bug that we'll need to fix. If we are going to press accept double time, right, so twice, we are going to get errors here, which we don't want. And an easy fix for that is just to delete this, right? So that's everything that you have to do. And then one thing that we can also do here is to set to quest, just so we make sure that we're not going to get any unexpected results. And we'll set this to be true. And now it's time to set the on pressed for the refuse button. We are going to play in reversed mode, so play animation reversed mode, our quest fade in fade out. And then we'll also need to copy this, so we set the character to be able to move once again and set the show mouse cursor to be false. And let's check once again for the refuse button as well. Okay, press it once, and as you can see we can then come back at it and take it. And that's everything that we have to set up in here. And the final parts of our tutorial will be done in the third person character. So what we'll have to do from cast failed, we'll have to do a sequence. Right, a sequence is going to do two pieces of blueprint in order. So first then 0 and then 1. Alright, and I'm going to have here a for each loop with break. A for each loop with break is going to go through all the elements of an array, and at some point you can break it once you are done with it and you don't need it anymore. So what we'll do is to check if our hit actor has tag. So if our hit actor has a tag which is going to be equal to our array element, so if the hit actor has a tag which is going to be equal to one of our quest name, right? If that is true, we are going to have here a branch and then a sequence. And from then on we are going to break the for each loop because we don't have to run it anymore. It's just going to be a waste of performance. And then we need to create a new variable. I'm going to call this quest actor. Okay, and it's going to be an actor, just as the name says. And I'm going to set this to be the hit actor. Okay, and then we'll create a new integer, and I'm going to call this quest index just from the NPC, because we'll need this here too. And we'll set this to be the index of our for each loop. Then we are going to set can interact to be true. And then we are also going to call these resets. Okay, so let's call them. And that's it. Let's compile. And now, as I told you at some point here from is valid, if the NPC to interact would not be valid, we would have to check some things. So if the NPC to interact is not valid, we are going to check if our quest actor is valid. And if that is true, we are going to destroy actor. And the actor is going to be the quest actor. We are going to set the quests completed So we are going to set array element to be true, and the index will be the quest index. Okay, let's compile. And now the last part will be done from here, from the false part of the branch. Another branch in here, which will check if the NPC to interact quest completed. We'll check if the quest is completed or not. And if that is false, so it's not completed, we are going to get our quest completed. We are going to get a reference. We are going to get the index is going to be from our NPC to interact, get index. So get quest index. Right. If this is true, we are going to set quest completed. Okay, so set quest completed. Okay, set this to be true, and we'll need here to create an experience and the gold integers. And we need to set these to be basically integer plus integer for both. Plus integer. And the first integer is going to be the experience and the gold themselves, as you can see. And then these, so the gold and the experience, will be taken from our NPC to interact. Get experience. Okay, and now get gold. Okay, and now I think this should work. Let's compile and play. And there's a problem in the main HUD, but I think that it's not there anymore. Weird. Oh, it is. So let's see what's wrong in there. So main HUD. Oh, so I'm having here some problems because I wanted to set up a text block. Because I had here, I wanted to set up a text so we can see the gold and experience better. So let's see how I can fix this real quick. So I can just get gold once again and get experience. So this is how you can add to your HUD the experience and the gold. So just an append to text string into return value. Let's play and let's see if it's working or not. So I'm going to take the quest. I'm going to come here and press E. And then I'm going to press E once again, but it seems that it's not working for some reason. And let's see why. So I found a mistake. It was really simple. So from the quest completed, I got a true instead of the false part. So make sure that you don't do that as I did. That's my bad and I'm sorry for that. Now let's see if this is working or not. So accept, get a cube and bring it back. As you can see, it is indeed working. And it's pretty much everything for today's video. I hope that you enjoyed it, and if you did, don't forget to leave a thumbs up. And if you're new to the channel, don't forget to subscribe to stay up to date with new videos. Also, don't forget to tell me in the comments if you like the video or not, because I'd like to start a series with RPG mechanics. So maybe do an inventory, maybe do a map at some point, maybe do some more type of quest where you, let's say you have to fight the boss and then come back instead of bringing an item. So as I said, don't forget to tell me in the comments below. And also, if you'd like to get the projects files, you can go over on Patreon and get them from there. Thanks for watching, and I'm going to catch you in the next one. Goodbye.